Sunday by Golden Plate Potato
There ain't
Chips.
world there.
The Golden Plate Potato Chips and the Bill Rice go hand in hand as the Crimson Tide get ready for the coming football season. And it should be a good one, Bill Rice, don't you think?
Yes, we're going to have fans in the stands as far as I know. That'll make a big difference, bands and cheerleaders. So I saw that Coach Saban was on the podium at SEC Media Days yesterday.
And today is the Auburn Tigers, isn't it?
I think so.
The Auburn Tigers, ladies and gentlemen, and here we go. Get ready for the kickoff as the Auburn Tigers get ready for the 2001 or 2021 season as we get ready for hopefully a jam-packed crowd in Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn for the opener against.
Albie's making a rattle. He used
Well, I sort of like it. It's a rattle, but I sort of like it. Let's say it again.
No.
Yes, he's getting ready now. Look at him go.
Man, I don't like
Look at him go. The Auburn Tigers getting ready for the 2021 football season. And they go up against a team from the state of Ohio. Who is it?
It's not Akron or.
It's Akron, the Zips. They go up against the Akron Zips in their first game. And, of course, hopefully there'll be a full house at Jordan-Hare Stadium for that one.
I hope so.
Of course, I'm Mike Amos, and he's Bill Rice, and we're about to start our show. Of course, yesterday, Bill Rice, on this show, we sold $2,000 worth of cake.
Congratulations, that's awesome.
So it was a big day for
that is going to really help a lot of
8
kids.
and under parents, and I know a lot of them bought cakes and so forth. And
where's this team going again?
they're going to Laurel, Mississippi.
All right.
Laurel, and of course that's for the
8-year-old
World Series.
They'll remember that. Well, go ahead and win it since you're there. Might as well win
exactly right. And then, of course, it's a good venue, and of course the six and under girls Sweeties softball team is also going to be in Laurel, Mississippi for the World Series, and that comes up next week, and we'll be talking more about that. But a lot happening, and of course, you've got the 12 and under team, which is really good baseball. They're playing in
Louisiana or Texas.
They're playing in Louisiana, I believe. And
that's awesome. That's my favorite age of youth baseball. It's about 11 and 12. That's when I have my happiest. That's probably because I have my happiest memories of playing youth baseball when I was about that age.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, when you get in high school, you kind of start getting other interests in people. The guys that play on the high school team, or some guys are serious about baseball, and then some by the age they're 15 or 16, they're really not into it like they were when they were 11 and 12.
Of course, Alabama will open their season against the. And that game will be played. Look, there he goes. All you do is you touch him, and he goes. Big Al.
It'll be played in Atlanta in that dome,
Yes,
that
sir.
fancy dome they have, whatever it's called.
The Miami Hurricanes.
And then they're playing the Miami Hurricanes, who were the Alabama of college football, about 20, 30 years ago?
Oh, yeah, when they had all those great quarterbacks. And then Howard Snellenberger was their coach.
He got it started.
Sure did. Look at old Big Al. He's getting. I believe somebody jacked him up a little bit because he sounds better. He sounds better, and of course oh boy, you have to hot wire him, and let's see if we can stop him. There we go.
We might have to put him in. Big Al's got a big trunk. We might have to put him in the trunk.
Exactly. But we're proud we got him on the set. A lot of folks would like to have Big Al, and of course he's the sound of.
I've got a 5-year-old, so I've got a lot of stuffed animals, and especially a lot of toy cars that make noises and have sirens, and everything has batteries. And from time to time, one of these things will just start playing and rattling, and it's like a ghost turned it on. and you can't turn it off. So you know what I do is I take it outside or something, or just until the battery runs down.
But you won't have that battery where it just goes on and on and on. And of course, the Crimson Tide will open their season against Miami, and of course the Troy Trojans, Coach, and they open their season against Southern University of Louisiana. That's going to be a good opener for the Trojans, and as they get their season started, and of course the next week they've got to go up against the Liberty, who shot Liberty Valance, and
get him, Liberty, get him.
Your Liberty went a long ways last year, and before they got beat, you know, they got a good.
Who played Liberty Valance?
I would say it was. He was
Lee Marvin.
Well, Lee Marvin did too, but Patton. What was that last name? Patton.
Oh, it was Lee Marvin, I think, that played Liberty Valance.
Yeah, okay.
Everybody was terrified of Liberty Valance except for one guy in that town, and he was played by one John Wayne. And he was not afraid of Liberty. I think Liberty was afraid of him.
Well, it went like this. He was the bravest of them all. Good morning. You're on Today in L.A. How you doing?
Morning. How much money did you enforce on the cake sale yesterday?
How about $2,000? $2,000 on that sale yesterday, and I appreciate all the people that called in and got a whole board over there full. And it was so well organized. Probably the most well organized cake sale that I've ever done.
The board shows it, yeah.
And it was and look how many $100 deals we had.
I see Danny Lee bought one.
Danny Lee's my buddy. Yes, sir.
C. Boutwell bought one. D. Knotts.
Yeah.
Diana Lee. Gosh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Steve Camp.
The mayor get involved?
The mayor didn't get involved. He didn't get involved.
Mike Amos bought one. You know, every time you do one of these, I bet you buy a cake, Mike.
I have to. I don't pay as much as everybody else.
So one, you get them on the air so they can.
You should have put that in his article. How many cakes did you have to buy?
I should have, yeah.
I did.
How many cake sales have you done?
Yeah.
I should have put that in the article.
But you know, they're fun, and we got the kids in there, and we got to introduce the kids and the coaches. And buddy, I tell you what, you look at Troy sports, the great softball programs and that they put out, and then you look at and baseball. And you look out and you see what outstanding coaches they have.
You know, we're supposed to have Coach Neely from Charles Henderson, the softball coach, come in this morning. And I talked to her briefly. She's a friend of my wife, Carrie, who teaches at Charles Henderson. And fundraising is super important to her.
Yeah.
I mean, to fund that program, you know, she's got a budget, but the budget does not cover everything they need to run a first-class softball program.
Of course.
So did you listen to Nick Saban yesterday? He said 90% of Alabama's players are vaccinated, Bill. That's the project.
That's good.
Well, I imagine they kind of emphasized how important that was, but it's good news for Alabama in the sense that these players won't have to get tested all the time, and since they're not going to get tested, then they're not going to come back positive, and so you won't have any of that.
The NIL. He said the biggest news that everybody's catching on to is that Bryce Young has reportedly made close to $1 million already.
Oh, gosh. Oh, man.
I read that. He made that comment at a football coaches conference in Texas that he was the keynote speaker. And the Athletic had a great story about him. You know, it was a big coaching conference, and he spoke. And then after he spoke, he had an hour Q&A where the coaches could ask him questions.
Yeah.
And I have never seen Coach Saban so candid. I mean, that's when he popped that, you know, his quarterback is making $1 million on NIL, but he talks about why he left Michigan State, why he left the Dolphins.
You're right. I've never heard him talk about on that.
Well, the Dolphins, you know, I would just thought he knew that he was a better college coach and he can control his success more in college than he could in the pros, which is true. But he said the big deal was they were going to sign Drew Brees as their quarterback of the Dolphins, and he thought he had all the pieces, and once he got a good quarterback, that Miami could be a big-time winner. But Brees had some shoulder issues, and actually had an operation performed by one James Andrews, we all know.
That's right.
In Birmingham, Alabama. Saban said he went to Birmingham after Brees had been operated on and talked to Dr. Andrews, and Dr. Andrews said he's going to be fine. Well, then Drew Brees, before you sign a contract, he was a free agent, you got to pass a physical. Well, he failed the physical. The doctors at the
Yeah.
Miami Dolphins
would
not clear him. And Saban said that was the end of right there. He said, I'm out of here. He couldn't, in the NFL, you got to have a quarterback to win, and he knew he wasn't going to have a quarterback. And I said he was candid. Here it is 15 years later, and he said that doctor didn't know his fanny from a handful of sand on the beach.
Drew Brees broke about every record in the NFL passing efficiency history after that.
Yeah, that's what he said, yep. So really,
Saban was stuck with Dante Culpepper, who was kind of washed out.
Oh yeah, he couldn't do it. Well, there's two people we need to thank for Nick Saban and Alabama's amazing dynasty run. The first is Rich Rodriguez's wife, who convinced her husband not to take the Alabama job, which had been given to him. He was coming to Alabama,
That's
and
right,
he changed his mind.
I wonder what would have happened to Rich Rodriguez.
So, Mrs. Rodriguez, if you're watching, thank you very, very much.
And I'm sure, do you think they're still married?
What happens is he's the offensive coordinator at Louisiana Monroe now.
Well, he might be a good offensive coordinator. He was not going to win 6 national championships as Alabama's coach. So the stars lined up for Alabama there, and also the stars lined up when that doctor didn't clear Drew Brees, because if they had have cleared Drew Brees, Nick Saban might still be coaching the Miami Dolphins.
Well, that's the way it works.
Yeah, it's the little things that you don't think about that have huge ripple effects.
Yeah.
Did y'all hear the sad news about Bobby Bowden?
Yeah, they did not indicate exactly what it was that he has, but he claims he has a terminal illness, and he's a man of the Lord. I tell you, he probably preached in more churches than anybody.
Yeah, you read the article. He had a really bad bout with COVID.
Yeah.
Almost lost his life from that. I think he's 91, 92 years old.
91 years old.
I mean, Dad, you've had him on the show, and I've met him a couple times. I mean, he's just a great guy.
Oh,
everybody that's ever met him, he's just as approachable and down to earth and kind as anybody you've ever met. I've met him.
I asked him one day, Coach, would you preach one day at the First Baptist Church in Troy? He said, just tell me when. I never told him it, but he would have done it,
God, he is. I really like Coach Bowden.
Oh yeah, he's a class guy.
I like his children. Yeah. Terry's different, but he'll talk your ears off.
Yeah.
But he's a good guy. And then his other Tommy's. Yeah. Tommy hired Dabo Sweeney.
Oh yeah, sure did. And I've been around him quite a bit. And a good friend of mine, he's gone now, but a good friend of mine, Ed O'Toole, was one of Bobby Bowden's best friends. They were just like family almost, and I was a good friend of Ed O'Toole's, and that's how I got to know Coach Bowden. And then later on,
yeah, y'all would actually go eat breakfast with him in Birmingham a lot.
Oh yeah, go eat breakfast with him, and he's just a regular guy, and of course Ed O'Toole was a dear friend too, and he was at one time was assistant coach at Enterprise, and he coached for a long time. But Bowden, I tell you how good a friend Ed O'Toole was with Bowden. Bowden, the Florida State would spend the night in some hotel before the ball game, and get away from all the fans. and Ed O'Toole spent the night with Bowden almost every game.
Wow.
They were just real close friends.
Well, we were. I mean, like you said, he. How long did he come to Troy?
Well,
his football camp about 8 years or something?
Yeah, something like that. And I remember it so well what he said one day. We were sitting around talking, and that's what they like to do, just sit around and talk. And Coach Bowden liked to be with his boys. They gave him a chance to be with his boys too. And he said, I said, Coach, what do you think about Troy? What do we got to do? He said, right now, he said, what Florida State has that Troy doesn't have is money. He said, if Troy had the money we have, no telling where Troy might be.
That's it. Yeah.
That was a long time ago, but boy, it was a lot of fun to have the Bowden football camp right here in Troy.
Yeah, Coach Blady was always really hospitable, and he didn't mind Bowden having his camp there. I mean, it actually was a good relationship for both schools, in my opinion.
Well, they also scheduled Troy, and heck, Troy almost beat them one year. He might almost regretted that, but
Coach Bowden said that was he said scheduling had a lot to do with what happens in college football, and he said I could remember when we were out on the field, and I told one of the coaches that, hey, y'all wanted to do it, and here we are. Some of his assistant coach said, Coach, why don't you play Troy? Why don't you give Troy a break? Well, he gave Troy a break, and he turned around to his coach, and he said, well, y'all see what you got, don't you?
I think they won by one.
He had to fight for his life.
With about 2 minutes left and long.
Yeah.
So the game was tied and up for grabs in the last minutes of the game.
Oh, yeah, late for the fourth quarter. All about the game. It was the debut of Omar Hogerbrook.
Yes, sir. Well, Auburn goes before the mic today on the SEC football media day.
I've been working on my project, so I want y'all to fill me in on the key info you're hearing, so I can scout out these teams. Who are the sleepers and who are the overrated?
The big news yesterday is Texas and Oklahoma possibly join the SEC.
Well, that would be huge.
Well, I read that late last night.
I'm afraid
that's a big, huge, major news of college football. You're talking about superpower conferences. If you had Oklahoma and had Texas, of course, A&M's already coming out with their athletic director saying they don't want anything to do with Texas joining the SEC. So they want to be the only school from Texas in the SEC. But tell you what, Greg Sankey, you can't turn away Texas and Oklahoma if they want to come. They're just great in every sport.
But
I would say, why do you? It's all money. These SEC teams are already making a ton of money, but I guess they need more. And Oklahoma and Texas would make those TV contracts and payouts to each school even bigger. But also, it's going to create a lot more losses for every team in the SEC. And also, another thing you'd have to do is you can't have 16 teams in your conference and only have an 8-game conference schedule. So it'd make the SEC probably go to 9-game schedule. Plus, you got these home and home series. All these teams are scheduling, like Auburn and Penn State. So say you have a 9-game schedule, and then you have your one game against a prestige team from another conference. That's 10 games. You got 12 games on your schedule. You see the slots you got left for the Troys of the world. You used to have 4 slots that you could outside your conference play a team like Troy. We'll see. It's that little window of you getting these big payout games. It's getting smaller and smaller. And then the other thing it would do, Michael, is it would instantly kill the Big 12, don't you think? I mean, that would be that conference cannot.
They're saying Nebraska would come back, and then they're saying that Missouri would possibly go to the Big 12. So I guess we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, you're right. But you hope it doesn't destroy a conference.
Nebraska needs to come back to the Big 12. They've never had success in the Big 10.
Yeah, it doesn't. Well, it's not a good fit, is it?
Alabama, of course, they were. Saban was at the mic yesterday, and he just laid back. you know.
Yeah, he was real relaxed. It wasn't real controversy at all. He was just up there kind of just shooting the breeze. It wasn't much to really highlight.
He said a lot of what he had to say was aimed at Lane Kiffin. Evidently, he and Kiffin are good friends.
Yeah, he was real complimentary of Lane, and told Florida Atlantic that they were getting a guy that was going to be a really good coach, and apparently said the same thing when they hired him at Ole Miss. So Kiffin always praises Saban. Sometimes you don't know how sincere he is, but I mean, I guess they're trying to patch things up. I wouldn't be surprised on down the road, when Saban retires, it could be Kiffin or Sarkisian, possibly as the head coach.
Yeah. Another name I would remember, Mario Cristobal at Oregon.
Yeah, Mario,
I'm pronouncing his name wrong. But he great recruiter and doing good at Oregon. Coached at Alabama for about 5 or 6 years.
But guys, I still say, and I can use the word ego. Listen, Saban's not going anywhere. I guarantee you, if he could coach 10 more years at Alabama, I think he would, because his life is.
He's scheduled to coach in 2027.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, this is his 15th year at Alabama, which is amazing.
What would he be making by then, Mike? $20 million a year?
I don't know. He's making 12 right now, I believe.
Well, he's got saved coaches to the end of his contract, which he very well might do. 6 years. That would be 21 seasons at Alabama.
He looks in great health.
I think Coach Bryant had 24 seasons. So his tenure at Alabama would be almost as long as Coach Bryant. He's already the second longest tenure of a coach at Alabama. He's passed, who was it? Frank Thomas, who had great success in the 30s and 40s. He's coached. Saban has now coached at Alabama longer than Frank Thomas, I think.
Saban's record at Alabama is 165 and 23. So say he coaches another 7 years, he averages over 10 to 11 wins a season, which he already does. I mean, you're looking at, I think his overall win record is 259 wins. I mean, he's going to easily, I think, get to 323 at Bryant.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you this: the sleeper in
I think he's going to be right around that number. Maybe get closer to 330.
Well, Mike, Auburn has opened up for the season now, and we find out exactly what Brian Harsin has to say about his Auburn Tigers on the podium today. And one of the questions will be, how will Brian Harsin handle the stage, coming from a relative small school to a big SEC school?
Well, I mean, he was offensive coordinator at Texas, so I mean, he's been in a big school before.
I didn't know that.
He knows what the pressure's like. It's just a matter of getting all the Auburn fans to buy in and believe, and if he wins, I mean, they'll love him. If he loses, they'll hate him.
Well, I'll tell you, he'll do great. I mean, I've seen him enough in his press conference and his media outings to date to know that he can handle himself.
He's a class guy.
He's confident. He's well spoken. He'll make a real strong impression, I bet.
And, I mean, I'm thrilled that he's the coach. They hired our cousin Brent Betzel from.
Yeah, sure did.
Sport, and then great article came out yesterday with Cornelius Williams and the Dothan Eagles. Apparently, Cornelius and Zach Efforts were best friends throughout college.
I didn't know that.
The Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game, and Zach being from Troy, Cornelius said every time he came back to Troy that they would hang out, and then Cornelius went up to Auburn a lot, and every time he went up to Auburn, he would stay with Zach Efforts back in college.
Okay.
When he played at Auburn.
Uh-huh.
And apparently Zach Efforts put in a good word, because he was one of the first hires by Harsin to help get Cornelius Williams a receiver job up there.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
Strong Troy connection at Auburn.
Sure,
those two guys.
More power to him. Of course, like he said, he played at Troy and he coached at Troy several years, and now he's at Auburn and with Zach Etheridge, and we're proud of Zach. And I tell you, with Brent Bedsoe, my good buddy. I think I got an in up there now.
I think you do. God.
I mean, how many colleges? I mean, I don't think Cornelius had another college left to coach in Alabama. He coached at UNA, UAB, Troy, Jacksonville State, and South Alabama. How many people can say that?
I know it. You're right.
You're right.
And he coached at Troy, what, almost 10 years, when you say?
That tells me
6 years.
He knows all the high school coaches, doesn't he, in the state and all the regions.
Yeah.
He's probably a great recruiter.
You know, they asked.
Chuck Dunn might be listening today. Chuck Dunn coached at Troy as a GA. Then he coached at Jacksonville State. He coached at South Alabama, and he coached at UAB.
Yeah. No finer, nicer guy than Chuck Dunn.
Well, let me ask you this: what's Chuck's status now? Is he still at Arrington?
I don't think Chuck's coaching right now. I think he's maybe sitting a year out.
Okay. Well, of course, Harrison goes before the mic today, and Rice, what do you think about him?
Well, his past performance predicts future performance, I guess, and he did a great job at Boise as a head coach. Before that, he was a assistant at Boise for a long time too, and just Boise was awesome. When
was he the head coach?
I think he was an assistant under the Boise coach that later went to Washington.
Do you think he was the one that called the Statue of Liberty play, the famous Statue of Liberty play? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, well, he might have. I bet he was on that staff then. So.
Yeah, when
he's a winner. I think he does things his own way. I think it was an excellent hire.
They say that ask this question: can Bo Nix become an elite quarterback? I don't believe there's any question that he's not already a pretty good quarterback. What do you think?
He's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say elite after what I saw last season.
Well, I just wanted to ask that question, and of course, there's an opening with some of the conference's best players that turned around and had great years. Mac Jones and Kyle Trask having moved on. Now, offensive coordinator Mike Bobo. I would think he's got a real good coach, and of course, Nick's. They seems to be in control there as far as
I think Nix will do, but I bet he's got a better pro style quarterback coach than he had under Malzahn. Malzahn wasn't really a great developer of. Well, I mean he did good with quarterbacks that could run.
He's good with quarterbacks that transferred from another school.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, and of course, receivers and.
Bobo played quarterback at Georgia. He was head coach of Colorado State.
Yeah.
He was at South Carolina last year. Of course, South Carolina had fired Muschamp, and I think he was the interim coach to finish the season. But I mean, he's a good coach. I'm not like blown away by him.
Well, and then the defensive coordinator was the head coach at Vanderbilt. Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Derek Mason.
So, you know, and he's a
So they got several former head coaches on the staff, and then some young.
Derek Mason was real good when he was at Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happened when he got to Vandy.
Of course, Bigsby has really come on to be the actual #1 running back in the conference. Wouldn't you say, Tank Bigsby?
Mm-hmm. I would say.
It's gonna be him or. A&M probably got a running back that is real high up there as well.
Georgia always has some good running backs, but Bixby is if he can stay healthy, he's going to have a bright future.
Well, I still think this article is interesting. Washington State coach, head football coach, refuses COVID vaccine, won't attend Pac-12 Media Day. He's the only coach that won't attend. He's going to do it over Zoom. Nick Rolovich has gone back and forth with the athletic director and president over the last several months, but for personal reasons is not taking the COVID vaccine. So that's very interesting.
Well, you know, I admire anybody that has the principles to go against the pack and the crowd. That's what courage is. You know, when anybody can go along with the crowd, but so when you got some principles, and I'm sure he's got reasons. I don't, you know, well, let me ask you this. How many, the coaches are older. How many coaches have died of COVID?
He's young, and this guy's only 42 years old, but the thing is like, a lot of his players have been vaccinated, and a lot of the coaches have been vaccinated, so it's going to be one of those situations that when they're around the head coach, everybody's going to have to mask up.
Oh, it creates huge.
Also on the sideline, he's going to be required to wear a mask as well.
They're after him since, I mean, they target you if you do this, and it's going to create big headaches for him running his program. So, but it's all based on these protocols that people impose on him. They shouldn't be doing that. I mean, for one thing, we've already learned that 90% of the players are vaccinated, and that supposedly keeps them immune, right? Plus, you probably got 50% of the players that are naturally immune since they've actually had the virus. Basically, there's no reason that you got to have all these masking and protocols. There's Coach Neely. Y'all want to take a commercial and let her come?
We'll hold up a second, and we'll bring her on in a minute.
Also, big news out of Las Vegas. Anybody planning a trip to Las Vegas? Mask mandates imposed on county employees in Las Vegas only. So county employees will have to wear masks, but not tourists or casinos. So anybody going out to Vegas, you don't have to worry about bringing a mask. There was rumors at one time that they were going to go back to wearing masks inside of casinos and at big events. But
I'm gonna bring out one more.
Tourists and casinos don't have to worry about it. You think some big money people put a stop to that?
Yeah. About the vaccine question. Have anybody thought about the lawsuits and fear of lawsuits kind of rule the world and inspire people? Don't you think that these schools are opening themselves up to future lawsuits if they compel or force kids to get a vaccine, and then a year from now, 2 years from now, you find studies that say such and such side effect has happened, like myocarditis? They've already proven that in young males, the incidence of myocarditis is very high for those who are vaccinated. So you're almost, so one or two of these kids get myocarditis and die from it. You don't think they're going to sue because they were made to get that vaccine?
But right now we don't have a crisis in that situation, do we?
Well, there's been
myocarditis, whatever you call it.
There's been about 300 cases of documented of people that got myocarditis after they got the vaccine.
Yeah.
None of them have died. I mean, they say it's fairly mild, and none of them have died yet. But you know, it's just a matter of time.
A lot of people are wondering if the Olympics will even finish. Because now in Tokyo, the virus has nearly 2,000 new cases before the games start.
Oh boy!
That's the Delta variant. So
something we've got to really.
It'll be interesting to see what happens over there. There already going to be no fans in attendance. So,
well, they've got it set up where they could easily get out of it, and they might just do that. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to bring back our guest today, and we're excited about it. We'll be right back.
Are you ready?
This is my chart from Southeast Health.
And you're going to want to make it yours.
Not because it's free,
but because it's priceless. Because with my chart, you can schedule appointments online with your provider.
You can email your provider and get answers.
Get test results.
Refill prescriptions.
And manage your family's health care. You know how we all want health care to be easier?
But no one seems to listen?
Well, someone did. Southeast Health.
To get your free My Chart app,
visit your app store or go to southeasthealth.org.
Troy Cable Security makes it easy to stay aware and stay in control of your home wherever you are. User-friendly interface allows easy navigation for lights, locks thermostat, video and garage doors. Never worry about leaving your garage door open or the front door unlocked. Your mobile app can send alerts to your phone for alarm and no alarm events. Know when your children arrive home from school with video response. Make sure your home is powered by Troy Cable Security for ultimate access, awareness, and protection.
A personal touch, a high level of trust. Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
She was a great one. Yeah. Back to our show, right? So we got a guest this morning.
We've got Coach Neely from Charles Henderson. Pronounce your first name. Is it Khadijah?
Khadijah, yes, sir.
Khadijah Neely. She's a good friend of my wife, Carrie. In addition to being the softball coach at Charles Henderson, she's also an English teacher. And this will be your second year, I guess, at the school.
Yes.
And background, she's from Roanoke, Alabama, played 4 years of softball at Troy University on their great program, third base, and moved around a little bit, and then coached last year and had a very promising first year, and from what I gather, we've got some good young softball players in the program coming back, so the future is bright. And then we want to talk about some of your initiatives that might help you build this program too. But first, Khadijah, tell us where you were coaching and how you ended up as Charles Henderson's coach and English teacher.
Okay. I do want to just add that before I came to Troy, that I went to 2 years of junior college at Chattanooga State.
Okay.
So I came into Troy as a transfer student. And after I left Troy, I actually got into coaching. I had no desire to coach as a college player.
You wanted to teach English.
I did not. That was not in my plans. I'm an exercise science major, fitness and wellness, and that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in the lab testing apparel and things like that. And I had a coach who just changed my perspective about coaching, and she gave me an opportunity. So I went out to Texas and worked with the Scrapyard Dogs. They're no longer a professional softball team anymore, but back then they were, and I worked with them, and they had travel ball teams, and I wound up coaching them, and I did that for 4 years. And after that kind of folded, I got an opportunity to come back here for Troy to coach, and it was a surreal moment. I graduated with my master's from Troy University at like 12 o'clock noon. I went on an interview at Charles Henderson that same day, and now I'm still here. So I'm really enjoying it. It's Troy's home. You know, I was here for 3 years, and now I'm back, and I really enjoy the atmosphere there and ready to see it grow.
You know, before we get into your softball program, you know, probably the most most identifiable coach at Troy University is their women's softball coach. She must have been a great role model for you.
Oh yes, I actually spoke with Coach Mullins like yesterday.
Tell us about her just a little bit.
Coach Mullins, she played at UAB, and then after UAB, and I may be wrong, but I know at some point she was at Mississippi State coaching.
That's right, she was. She came to Troy from Mississippi State.
Yes, sir. And I want to say she coached at UAB a little bit, but after she came from Mississippi State, she has just taken this program to heights. Like, when we were playing, we weren't very good, but once she got here, we turned a notch. Yeah.
She is a big time.
How long has Mullins been at Troy? What year did she get there?
14.
Yeah.
14. Okay. So she coached you all 3 years.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir.
And I would say this, very, very, without any doubt, that Troy is a big time program now.
Yes,
They
sir.
can play with anybody. Don't you agree?
I agree.
You know, the Crimson Tide of Alabama had that great team. Well, they were lucky to get away against Troy this past year, beat them 2-0, and this is considered one of the top 3 best teams in the country. Ran into a lot of trouble when they played Troy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Coach, you said you're at Chattanooga, what was it, Chattanooga State Junior College?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my wife and I, we have a lot of friends who live in Chattanooga. We spend a lot of time up there. That's a great town, Chattanooga.
Yes, sir, it is.
Did you enjoy that?
I did. I had a great 2 years there. Great 2 years.
So
you
were...
when you were in high school, did you, I guess you went straight to junior college when you ended up going to play for Troy. Did you have other options, or was Troy your best fit as far as playing time?
I had a couple, but none of them showed as much interest. So I just like the genuineness of the coaches. So that ultimately is where I made my decision.
So you played one of the hardest positions in women's softball. That's a hot corner.
That's it. Hot corner. Yes, sir.
We're talking about sometimes you're almost halfway to the batter sometimes, aren't you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's definitely not a position for somebody that's afraid of the ball.
Hey, now recap.
Softball, they have a lot of kids slap the ball. Trying to get on the ground so they can beat it out. I mean, what is your stance when you play third in college? Are you trying to be as close to the plate as possible? Sometimes they can bounce it over your head, can't they?
Yes, it's really just you try to defend what you think they're going to do, and you have to read them and just adjust as you can.
Let me ask this: when that batter starts moving toward the pitcher, how far can she go? I mean, what's the limit to how far she can go past the batter's box?
So in high school, you can. So the batter's box is as far as you can go, and in high school, as long as your foot is on the line, you're good. In college, if your foot is anywhere near the line, you're out. Because we had a few years to where a lot of slappers were running out of the box.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking about.
And that became a really hard judgment call for umpires. So in college, they just made it simple. If you're on the line, you're out. In high school, it's a little bit more laxed. So they don't call it until you're out of the box in high school.
Well, I know this, and I know Rice got several questions he wants to ask you, but I want to ask you this one thing. You know, you played that hot corner for 4 years at Troy, and you know, y'all played against some of the best teams in the country, and you felt like every time y'all played them, y'all go in.
We had a shot, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Recap how you did in your first season for people that might not know.
So
what kind of the high points of the year record, and y'all made it pretty far in the playoffs, didn't you?
We did. We made it to regionals. So we had a little bit of struggles, getting our season off, a lot of rain. So our first home games canceled, but we actually started our season off in at the Brutech tournament in Montgomery, and we came in second in their silver bracket, which was a big deal. The girls said that they had never been that far in that tournament. They played in it every year. So that was a turning point for them. They started to believe in the program a little bit more. And as we continued to play our season, we had a lot of kids step up. A lot of our now seniors had phenomenal seasons. We had Mackenzie Kane with 15 home runs.
Wow. We
had Madison Stewart, I believe, with 8 home runs.
Was that a record, 15 home runs? Was that a school record, or do you know?
We have been looking to find out, but we are so far, yes.
I would think so, yeah.
So far, yes.
How good is she? You've seen a lot of she a potential college prospect?
Yes, sir. She is committed to UT Southern.
All right, but does she have another year with you?
Yes, she does. She does. She has one more. This will be her senior year.
UT Southern. I'm not familiar with that school. University of Tennessee.
Is that Texas Southern?
It's in Tennessee. It actually used to be Martin Methodist.
Okay.
But they just changed the name to UT Southern.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And we play second in the area tournament, facing Andalusia and Greenville, and we went to regionals in Gulf Shores, and we made it to about the third round. There, we had a nail biter. We lost by 1, or I think it was 1 to Rehoboth, which I hear is a rival in this part these parts of town. So it was a great game, And so we ended season on a high note, for next season, but they wanted more, so that's always a good sign.
Sounds like the team got better as the season progressed.
Absolutely.
Now let me tell you something. She's coaching ball now. She coaches softball, but she was hired to coach English. I'm just joking.
Yes, sir.
You were hired to coach softball too, but.
Coach, I guess the most important thing when it comes to softball is pitching. Have you developed any pitching in your first year for the future?
Yes, we have. So, just working down the chain, we have one senior pitcher who I love her to death, Stella Gilbreth. She is another college prospect. She should be committing here pretty soon. She's got some offers out there, and just working down the chain, we have at least one in every class, so that's good. Even our 7th and 8th graders have a pitcher, so that's always good.
Coach, I want to ask you this, and I know Rod's got several things he wants to ask you, but the hardest thing in sports, because it's not many people can do it, is to coach softball pitching.
That's right.
Isn't that right, Coach?
That's right.
Very few people can really coach pitching, and it's the most important thing in softball.
That's it. You can't play without it.
But who develops these girls then?
So for our team, we have Coach Amy Rader, who pitched in high school, and she's really good. I really enjoy what she's doing. But a lot of them have their own private instructors.
Yeah, that's right.
And I love that because we can only see them so many times, so many hours a week, and the fact that they're putting in the extra work with their private instructors, I'm all for it.
One of the great coaches of all time in women's softball was the Goshen coach, the girl that coached. She's not with us anymore, but she was by far the best.
Coach D.
That's right, Coach D at Goshen was. You probably have heard of her. She was an outstanding coach, but one of the very few coaches that could teach pitching.
Right.
Am I exaggerating that
no,
it's hard to do?
It is. It is very hard, and because a lot of times your head coaches. Sometimes I know some programs where their head coaches know pitching, but a lot of times they have to bring someone in that knows pitching.
Because your pitcher now, evidently, she can really hum it. Is that right?
Well, sometimes it's not about how fast you throw it. It's about how well you can spin it
like
and
a change-up and things like that?
Yes, sir.
Is it hard to throw a change-up in softball?
I mean, it is, but, with anything, practice makes perfect, repetition. And so, because I don't know if you guys watch the Women's College World Series this year.
I watched it a lot, yeah.
If you notice, some of their pitchers, they were not throwing, 70 miles per hour. Some of them, they mix speeds.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's what makes a pitcher, deadly.
So it's effective like you hear all the time about change-up for baseball.
You got to have that rise ball, Dad.
Yeah, and that rise ball, but also that change-up in softball is about as big as the change-up in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tell us, how many players did you have on the team last year?
Last year I had 14 on varsity and 13 on JV.
So we also got a JV program.
Mm-hmm.
Do you coach it, or do you have?
So last year, all of our staff, we had to help out with JV because we didn't have enough to have a single JV staff. And this year, my hope is to get a JV staff, but if not, I'm definitely going to.
Now, your girls, are they playing in any leagues this summer?
Yes, sir. I think I have all but like 3 or 4 that are not playing on some sort of summer team, whether it was the rec program or if it's travel ball.
Yeah. Now, of course, you're a high school. I'm probably getting into recruiting and all that, but do you go back in some of our local rec leagues and check on pitching and check on some talent coming up?
I do. I spent a lot of time at the rec softball fields this past semester because they started playing right around softball season. So before our season ended, I could get out there and watch. And we have some talent coming up too. And my hope is, that people believe in the game a little bit more because it gets discouraging. It gets hard the older you get. But hopefully they understand that with, good training, you can still accomplish good things.
Bryce and I have talked about.
Do you ever get involved in any camps in the local area?
I actually have a camp coming up next week.
Tell everybody about that.
So we're going to have, and I'm not sure in the past if Charles Henderson's ever had a camp, but I'm going to have a camp coming up next week, Monday. the 26th, and the 27th. There's 3 sessions. The first one is at 9:30, and it's a pitching only session. So we're gonna try to, see if we can get some pitchers to come out and teach us some things. I have some players from Troy University that's gonna come out and help me with this camp.
That's great.
Leanna Johnson being one of them, which is phenomenal.
Oh, the great pitcher.
Yeah, the great pitcher.
She's a top 10 nationally pitcher, I think.
When I called her and said, "Hey, you want to come out?" She said, "Absolutely."
Have you publicized this? Go next after you leave us. Go next door to the Messenger and talk to my brother and their sports editor and get a big story about it.
Okay.
Is it too late to sign up?
No, it is definitely not. You can come the day of, and our next 2 sessions are based off of age groups, and we plan to just cover hitting and defense and teach whoever wants to show up and learn.
So what ages are you?
Yeah, what is the age group?
So we're going to go, the first group, we're going to go from 8 to 12, and then the next group is from 13 to 15.
All right. You hear that, everybody? If you know a softball player, a child, grandchild, friend, tell them how to contact you.
So you can email me at neely.khaDija@troyschools.net, or you can call the school.
That's probably the easiest way.
Yep, you can call the school and they will get you right to me.
Yeah.
I think that number is 566-3510.
Is this something to raise money for the program, or
it
is
is.
Free camp?
It is. So the camp will be $50 for both days, and you can attend a pitching session and a hitting and defense session. So if you're a pitcher and you want to still do hitting and defense, you can. You can do both sessions for the $50 cost. We'll have a camp T-shirt, and the money is strictly for Charles Henderson softball program.
Have you had a lot of attention to this already?
We've had a lot of shares on Facebook. I'm not sure if it's gotten outside of Facebook, but
you don't have to be for a Troy pitcher.
No,
player.
you can be
from
anybody.
Goshen or anywhere. Is that right?
Anybody.
Yeah, I would think it'd be good if I'm coaching Goshen, if I'm coaching Pike County. I would think it'd be good for my team to go to this camp.
Absolutely. And actually, I just came back from the Rules Clinic in Montgomery for Alabama High School, and they have changed the rule to where now your team can go to things like this. It used to be where you could not, and now you can take them as a team to other things.
That's very good, very good. In fact, I really believe that high school softball is growing, and it needs to grow. And it's going to get
well.
Better
You need
and better.
that pipeline. It seems like we got a good rec program. Look at some of these World Series and state tournament teams that feed into Coach Neely's program.
Yeah. Coach.
Dad's favorite softball player in Charles Henderson history, and she was a cheerleader, is Becca Hartley.
Oh yeah,
she was a great one.
I love Becca. I played with her at Troy. She's fantastic.
She was a great player.
I remember Joy Graham was an early player that was really good.
She was. You're right.
She played at Alabama. She walked on at, I think she started at Troy and then went to Alabama, and then she gave up softball and was big in her sorority.
Yeah. Coach, my biggest question is when I watch the College World Series, how in the world do you hit a 69-mile-per-hour fastball? From one of those pitchers.
From how many feet? From how many feet?
43.
43 feet. Let me go. I tell you what.
That's almost like 100 miles an hour fastball.
Yes.
That's what they compare it to. Yeah.
Yes, there is definitely science that compares softball to baseball in that aspect, to where it's coming in at the same speed when you calculate the distance. How do you hit it? Practice. You have to practice hitting fast balls. You can't lob them in there and then expect in the game that they're going to be able to hit the fast stuff.
So you need somebody in batting practice that can do that.
Oh yeah.
Because
can you do it? Can you
I can throw. I can't throw 69 miles an hour, but I just get a little closer.
Yeah. But do you?
In high school though, what's the average pitcher going to average? Around 60, probably.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty fast.
That's still fast. Once we get into regionals, you'll see more pitchers that have that. But we rarely see a pitcher that's going to throw 60. More of them are going to live in that 58. Yeah. They may throw 60 every now and then, but if you see a girl that's throwing consistently 60 and higher, she's really good, and that team's probably going to go a long way.
Yep.
With the Johnson girl working with you, she probably can can eye some of the girls that got chances to
Right.
be high school pitchers. And
Absolutely.
of course, Brantley, where she came from, they just continue to produce them. You think there'll be any folks from Brantley coming to your camp?
You know, I would hope so. I'm not sure, but my hope is I have not been able to figure out the communication chain with the softball world. Like, where do you put things to let other schools know?
That's right. Yeah.
And
well, at least Pine County, I would think Goshen, and because there's not any more, not any other camps going on right now, is it?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Not to my knowledge.
I want to ask you this. I ride by your field every day, and I know that that to watch a game, you're sitting up on the bank, and you would like for them to put bleachers down low. Is that right?
I would. It would help. It would help if the kids could hear the fans, because it encourages them. I think I was telling you that there was a game where, or maybe not, but there was a game where the football team got out of practice one day, and they just came down the hill and stood by the fence. And it was our senior night, and we were losing by, I think, 2 runs. And when they came, they just cheered, and we wound up winning that game with a walk-off.
So the fans make a difference.
They do, and I believe in that wholeheartedly, especially coming from.
Well, Mike, we need to get some bleachers for this program, and then she also said that they need a PA system.
Oh yeah.
Exactly right. Yeah.
So there's a lot of things the softball program needs.
Dad wants a guardrail up on the hill too.
Yeah, I sure do. That going down that hill.
He can get his guardrail, and then he can get bleachers. He can do it. I used to cry a lot on that practice field after football practice. I used to lay there for about 30 minutes so I could go back to the locker room. It's really hot down there.
You know where the shortstop would line up? That is where I blew out my knee the second time at a scrimmage at Charles Simpson High School.
No.
But
that was the football practice field.
Blood, sweat, and tears on that field.
Well, we're going to continue that.
Well, at least you now have your own facility, and it's a pretty good facility.
It is.
But now it holds the rain quite a bit too, though, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. We are working on it.
I mean, see, that's one of the problems is rain and conditioning, and you're having to do it all, aren't you?
Well, no, I have some very good parents. No, I have great parents, and they would probably be mad if I called them my grounds crew. Maybe not. I'm not sure. But they have been so helpful. They really have.
Tell them that this show is rebroadcast at 1:30 in the afternoon.
At 1:30, yeah.
So if you can contact some of them if they want to watch this, they can watch it again or tape it.
And of course,
as far as Charles Henderson's region, I know a lot has changed over the years since I've been there. So who are your regional opponents in 5A?
So.
Andalusia's one, isn't it?
Andalusia,
are they 5A now?
They are. Andalusia and Greenville were in our area, and then we matched up with the regions from like Carroll. I can't remember the numbers, but like the Carroll Rehoboth region, and then they go